After the breakup, I quit my job without hesitation and was about to board a plane to start a new life abroad when my ex-girlfriend, who was also my former boss, unexpectedly showed up at the airport to try to win me back. She claimed she had already fired her assistant and offered me the position of second-in-command at the company. But as soon as I decided to stay and get back with her, she let go of my hand and started chatting cheerfully on the phone with her assistant, Raphael. "You won the bet. That fool actually thought I wanted him back," she said with a mocking smile. "It was just a joke, and you took it seriously. If you want to leave, go ahead. No one's stopping you now." My co-workers laughed, saying I was like a dog, always ready to come back when she called. What they didn't know was that I had only abandoned my plan to move abroad because the new company I was joining had just completed an acquisition, and I was going to be their new CEO. When my ex-girlfriend Anna revealed, with an air of superiority, that her attempt to keep me was just a joke, I didn't get angry. I simply took out my phone to book a flight back home. The co-workers around me looked at me with scorn. "Daniel, the CEO, said you don't plan to stay with her. Why are you still standing here? Go ahead and book that flight. Weren't you bragging about getting an offer abroad? What happened? Did they change their mind?" Anna watched as they mocked me, not lifting a finger to stop them. For years, this oppressive and humiliating work environment surrounded me. In the past, I would have felt the need to defend myself, outraged that my girlfriend wouldn't stand up for me. But now I felt nothing, as if I were watching a clown show. "My business isn't your concern, is it?" I said calmly. Anna scoffed, looking me up and down with disdain. "You're still so stubborn with your so-called skills. If I hadn't supported you all these years, maybe you wouldn't even have food to eat. Moving abroad? What a joke." Yes, I'm a graduate of a prestigious university. I left behind a well-paid job that others could only dream of to help her build everything from scratch. Yet, in Anna's eyes, I was useless. I was only where I was because of her, or so she thought. I almost laughed. I loved her deeply. Even after years of damage, I remained stuck in a manager position and never complained. But when she started handing my projects over to the new assistant, Raphael, and blaming me for his mistakes, making me face the consequences, she demoted me and cut my salary while promoting and giving raises to Raphael. That's when I finally woke up. That one-sided love I had been holding on to had to end. So, I quit and broke up with her, deciding to pursue my own career. As soon as I resigned and broke up with her, I decided to pursue my career. When I left that office for the last time, a mix of relief and anger washed over me. Relief for finally freeing myself from the toxic environment that was slowly draining me, and anger for having allowed Anna and her whims to dictate my life for so long. I didn't look back. Every step I took was a silent statement that I would never return to that place. In the beginning, things were uncertain. Although I knew I had the skills, the job market could be ruthless. But I had an ace up my sleeve that no one there knew about. An offer to become the CEO of an international tech company that had just completed the acquisition of a competitor. I accepted without hesitation. At my new job, I dedicated myself like never before. I spent countless nights planning strategies, reorganizing teams, and exploring untapped markets. Within a few months, the company's profits skyrocketed, and my reputation grew rapidly. I went from being an undervalued manager to a prominent figure in the industry. Everyone recognized my efforts, and for the first time, I truly felt I was reaping the rewards of my hard work. While I thrived, Anna and everything that had happened remained an open wound. It wasn't just about her treatment or the humiliations. It was about how she and my colleagues thought they could play with my life. I promised myself I would move on, but deep down, the idea of justice still burned within me. Over time, my new company began expanding its operations into Anna's home country. We became one of the largest investors in the sector, and I knew it was only a matter of time before our paths crossed again. When that happened, I wanted to be ready. It wouldn't just be a reunion, it would be my victory. Through contacts, I discovered that Anna was still working at the same company. Now as CEO, she apparently believed she was at the top. That only fueled my determination. I began researching the market and analyzing companies that could be strategic partners. It didn't take long to identify Anna's company as the ideal candidate. I personally reached out to the company's owner, presenting a significant investment proposal. My plan was simple: ensure that our partnership would only proceed under one condition: the replacement of the CEO. The owner was surprised but intrigued. I explained that for such a substantial investment, I needed someone I could fully trust to lead operations. He hesitated, but the amount was too tempting to ignore. Meanwhile, I ensured Anna had no idea of my involvement. All communications were handled through representatives or my vice president. She was eager about the potential partnership, believing it would solidify her position. Little did she know, her arrogance would be her downfall. On the day of the final meeting, where the contract would be signed, I made sure to attend in person. When I walked into the room, the shock on Anna's face was priceless. She tried to hide it, but I could see the tension in her eyes. I remained composed and got straight to the point. "Anna, it's been a while, hasn't it?" I said with a slight smile as I shook her hand. "I'm glad to see you managed to keep the company afloat after everything." She mumbled a few words, trying to stay composed, but the confidence she once flaunted was gone. I continued the meeting professionally, never revealing my true intentions. When it came time to discuss the final terms, I spoke directly to the owner. "The proposal is excellent, but there's one important detail. For us to proceed with the investment, we need new leadership in charge. It's not about discrediting anyone, just about strategic alignment." The silence in the room was palpable. Anna tried to argue, but the owner seemed inclined to accept my offer. He knew that the investment would be a game changer for the company, and in the end, that's what mattered to him. "I'm sure you understand that decisions like this are necessary for growth," I added, looking directly at Anna, who now seemed more lost than ever. A few weeks later, I received confirmation that Anna had been replaced. She tried to appeal, but her years of arrogance and the toxic environment she helped create ended up working against her. For me, this was more than revenge. It was a lesson that no one can walk over others without consequences. Today, I continue advancing in my career while Anna struggles to find her place in the market. She learned the hard way that the power someone thinks they have can vanish in the blink of an eye. And me? I simply move forward, knowing I achieved justice, but never letting it define me. After all, my greatest victory was choosing to value myself from the very beginning. Months after Anna was removed from her position as CEO, my life had reached a level I never imagined. My company was constantly expanding, and my name had become synonymous with success in the industry. However, it seemed that Anna and Raphael couldn't accept what had happened. Through contacts, I discovered they were spreading rumors, trying to undermine my work and my rise, claiming my success was pure luck and that I lacked the real ability to lead a company of that scale. At first, I ignored it. I knew my work spoke for itself, and I didn't need to prove anything to anyone. But when they tried to publicly humiliate me at a gala event, I decided it was time to put them in their place. The event was a gathering of business leaders, and I had been invited as the keynote speaker. When I arrived, I noticed Anna and Raphael sitting at the back, whispering to each other and glancing in my direction. It was clear they were plotting something. I paid no attention and continued engaging with other executives, focused on the purpose of the evening. After my speech, while mingling with other guests, Anna approached me, wearing a cynical smile. "So, you really believe you're all that, don't you?" She began, her voice dripping with sarcasm. "It's funny to see how people buy into this facade of yours as some great businessman." Raphael quickly joined her, like an obedient shadow. "Yeah, it's true. The fact is, he just got lucky. He only achieved what he did because he was in the right place at the right time," he added, trying to sound confident. The executives around us started paying attention, curious about the confrontation. I took a deep breath, staying calm, and decided it was the perfect moment to end their little show. "Anna, Raphael," I started, my tone firm yet composed. "It's truly fascinating how you both insist on underestimating me, even after everything. But since you want attention, let's give everyone here a moment to clear a few things up." The room fell silent. All eyes were on us. I continued, "Anna, you've always enjoyed manipulating the people around you. For years, you made it your mission to belittle me, even while I worked hard to build something that, in the end, only served for you to reap the rewards. When I finally decided to walk away, you tried to humiliate me, thinking I would always be the same fool accepting your scraps. But look where we are today. You were removed because your toxic leadership destroyed your own reputation." She tried to interrupt, but I raised my hand, signaling her to stay quiet. "And you, Raphael, you've always been an opportunist. I gave you chances to grow, but all you did was create problems and shift the blame onto others. The only reason you got anywhere was because Anna chose to protect you while sacrificing those who truly made a difference." I looked around, addressing the other executives present. These are the people clinging to the past, trying to diminish others' work to cover up their own failures. People like this have no place in a market that values integrity and results. I turned back to Anna and Raphael, who were visibly uncomfortable, their masks of arrogance finally cracking. "Now it's time for you to leave. This event is for professionals who have something to offer. You've made it clear you're only here to stir up trouble. I gave a discreet signal to the security guards, who quickly approached. Please escort these two out. I'm sure they have other places they need to be. Anna began to protest, but the security guards were firm. Raphael simply lowered his head, unable to look anyone in the eye. As they were let out, the silence was replaced by whispers and approving glances from the other executives. Once everything returned to normal, I felt satisfied. Not just because I exposed them, but because I showed I was no longer the man they tried to crush. Anna and Raphael had tried to play dirty, but they learned, in the hardest way possible, that true power comes from respect, hard work, and integrity. I carried on that night, stronger and more confident than ever, while they became nothing more than a bitter memory of a past I had overcome. After everything that happened with Anna and Raphael, my life took a completely unexpected turn. Not only did I grow professionally, but I also experienced a personal transformation that made me rediscover who I truly am and how much I deserve. The path wasn't easy, but looking back now, I realized that every obstacle, every humiliation, and every disappointment was necessary for me to get to where I am today. Anna, after being removed from her position as CEO, tried to rebuild her career at other companies. However, the shadow of her toxic and manipulative behavior followed her wherever she went. In the corporate world, news travels fast, and no one wanted to associate with someone who ruined a company because of their ego. At first, she tried to rely on her old connections, people who were once under her influence. But even those allies distanced themselves when they realized their own reputations could be damaged by supporting her. Anna ended up accepting positions far below what she once had, desperately trying to rebuild her image, but it was clear her time had passed. The woman who once believed she was on top of the world was now stuck in an irrelevant position, struggling to be taken seriously. For me, this wasn't revenge. It was simply the natural consequence of her choices. Raphael felt even faster. Always hiding behind Anna's protection, his credibility crumbled as soon as his workplace misconduct came to light. With no one to cover up his mistakes, he was fired from several positions in a short period. He tried to switch industries, but his reputation followed him. Eventually, I heard he opened a small business in a desperate attempt to stay afloat, but lacking the necessary skills and discipline, even that failed. In the end, Raphael was reduced to taking mediocre jobs where no one knew about his past or his failures. While they struggled to pick up the pieces of their lives, I moved forward in leaps and bounds. My company grew exponentially, expanding into new markets and solidifying itself as a leader in innovation and development. I became a prominent name in the industry, with constant invitations to events, speaking engagements, and partnerships. But beyond professional success, I realized there was something even more important: building a genuine personal life, something I never had with Anna. That's when I met Isabella. It wasn't something planned or grand. It happened during a casual gathering, introduced by mutual friends. I was there without many expectations, and I remember noticing her immediately. There was something about her energy, her genuine smile, and the way she spoke that caught my attention. We started talking, and to my surprise, there were no games, no manipulation, no masks. Isabella was authentic, straightforward, and carried a lightness that felt almost unreal after everything I had been through. Over time, our conversations became more frequent, and what began as a friendship grew into something much deeper. Isabella not only understood my ambitions, but also encouraged me to be better. Unlike Anna, who constantly tried to diminish my achievements or make me feel inadequate, Isabella celebrated every victory as if it were her own. She stood by me during difficult times and reminded me, in moments of doubt, that I didn't have to face everything alone. Everything I once imagined I would have with Anna, companionship, mutual respect, and a genuine connection, I found with Isabella, but on a much greater level. She wasn't just my partner. She was my friend, confidant, and greatest supporter. When I came home after a hard day, I knew she would be there, not to judge me, but to share in both the victories and the defeats. With her, I learned what true love really means: balance, mutual support, and a partnership that lifts you up instead of dragging you down. Today, after more than 2 years together, I can confidently say I've never been happier. Isabella not only surpassed all my expectations of love, but also helped me realize that I deserved far more than what I once settled for. When I think of Anna now, I feel nothing but indifference. She's worth no more than the shoes on my feet. And I say that without resentment, but with the certainty that she no longer holds any power over me. Everything I once desired and idealized with Anna, I now have with Isabella, and it's so much better than anything I could have imagined. The life I dreamed of in moments of frustration doesn't even come close to the incredible reality I live now. Isabella showed me that love isn't a constant battle, but a space for mutual support, growth, and joy. Looking back, I realized that every hardship was necessary. If I hadn't faced Anna's humiliations, betrayals, and disdain, I might never have had the courage to walk away and seek something better. I might never have met Isabella or learned to value myself the way I truly deserve. Now my life feels complete. I have an amazing woman by my side, a solid career, and above all, the peace of knowing I've left the past where it belongs. Anna and Raphael are nothing more than distant memories of a closed chapter. I moved on, and I did so in the best way possible. Happy, fulfilled, and finally free.